To get rid of those pesky ads, request stories, listen to unlisted and bonus episodes, and to chat with the gang, support us by clicking the description link.
We're talking about September 13th, 1959. We're going to meet the killer and talk about one of those events. It was a rape that happened in a nearby park, the Matheson State Park, a few miles away. This is the park right here. So Deer Park is where you start from, and then there's trails that go all through here. And there's like a nice waterfall, just like what you saw in the other one.
So the killer kind of has an MO of going to state parks where it's going to be mostly abandoned, but you can still also find people that are hiking the trails.
Well, the killer actually lives on the backside of the park. Oh, that's cool.
That's where he lives?
No, this is not where he lives, but pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
These are like Roman pillars. What the fuck? You see these pillars?
Yeah. You know they have an exact replica of the Parthenon in Nashville?
No.
Yeah, I've been. I didn't go inside.
What, is it all broken and shit?
No.
Because that would be the exact replica. The exact replica, is it all broken and crumbled?
No.
I always get the Parthenon and the Pantheon confused.
Oh, there's two? Why do they sound the same?
Isn't one in Rome and one in Greece? I've been to the one in Athens, for sure.
The thing with the pillars?
Yeah.
And like it looked like the Temple of Zeus where...
Parthenon and Pantheon, I think, are different things.
Someone educate me.
Parthenon.
All right, September 13, 1959, a James Suppen picks up his date, Karen Jassen, Jasen. This is the first date, and he wants to take her to a very, very romantic setting. He wants to take her to the Matheson State Park, which is only less than 2 miles away from the Starved Rock Park. He wants to follow a trail down. He wants to go by the Deer Park River, and he wants to skip rocks with his new date.
I love skipping rocks.
Now, these are teenagers, okay? These are both teenagers. He picks her up. They get to the Deer Park entrance. It's still light outside. They walk for about 30 minutes. They come to a stream. They sit down on the edge of the stream. They're having fun. They pick up some rocks, and they start skipping rocks, and they're laughing, and then someone walks up.
Then what happened? We came to the stream or river, and we were down there just throwing rocks in the water. Well, just before we got there, we heard gunshots in the woods. We never thought anything of it. We threw rocks for about 10 minutes. And this man came out of the woods.
Well, what happened then? Well, he came down at us and asked us the time. And this is part of the MO. He asked the time. He asked, how do I get out of here? Is there any wild animals here? Anything to break the, to break the ice. It was, I told him about 6:30. Then we went back into the woods up the trail. We stood there for about 5 minutes, maybe a little more. We decided to go back up the trail to our car. We were walking up this path, and this guy came down the trail as we were walking up with a rifle. We walked right up to him. We thought it was all right. All right, so this is the actual testimony we're reading now. This man, which is the killer in the... this is before the murders. He stops this couple and says, stop or I'll shoot. He pulls some fishing line out of his back pocket, forces the girl to tie up the boyfriend's hands.
Then what happened? Try to remember everything he said to you and what you said to him if you can. I know you're under a lot of stress right now, but it will help us if you can do that. He wanted to know if our parents were in the park with us. We told him yes. He wanted to know if Karen was my sister. I said no. He had her hands tied, and he made her stand up and took her away down the hill. Then the guy took off all her clothes except, he took her pants off. Then he lay her down, took her bra off, leaving her shirt on. All right, then what happened? He wanted to know if I had a t-shirt on. I said yes. He cut my t-shirt off and stuck some in my mouth and gagged me. He stuck some in Karen's mouth too. What did he take off her? All her clothes but her shirt and her red jacket. Then she started screaming when he done this. He told her, be quiet or I'll shoot you. And then he raped her.
I mean, this is the same guy. All right, go on, then what happened? He told me to tie Jimmy's hands. And this is the testimony from Karen. He told me to tie Jimmy's hands. He handed me this fishing string. I tied him. I didn't tie him too tight or anything. I kept asking him if that was all right, and he said, go around and come in between them so that he couldn't get loose. I just tied some knots in them loose, and he didn't check them. Then he tied Jimmy's feet. I can't remember with what, though, whether it was the same string or not, but it must have been. Then he came over and tied my hands. So does that tell you anything about the women? The women were all tied with the exact same type of material, the exact same type of cord. This man was caught, and I'm going to show you who it was. But this girl was raped with her boyfriend there made to watch. He says, I'm not going to kill you if you comply. He takes him down this little hill. He makes the girl tie up her boyfriend's hands. He then separates the two, brings her further down the hill, and then rapes her. And then he says, don't move. I have a buddy that's coming in an hour and he'll untie you, which was a lie. The reason they got out is because she had freed her hands, but they actually go and tell the cops. And the cops, they do an investigation on this because these are two teenagers who are claiming rape. The cops interviewed a nearby maintenance man who was working at the park at the time. He said the most likely suspect is this guy named Chester Otto Weger. And this is him right here.
You know what they say about guys named Chester?
What? No, I don't.
You don't know that nickname?
Can you describe this guy?
He's not a bad looking guy, but he doesn't look kind either. He has kind of like squinty eyes.
Can you go back, please? Is he former military?
Oh, very nice.
Yeah?
How did you know that?
The haircut. I mean, it's long, but I
That says a style in the 60s, though. I didn't think military.
You got it, man. Would you recognize a face like that if that man raped you? And then remember, he is not covering his face or anything.
He has a double chin. That's kind of
He's got a butt
rare.
chin.
Yeah.
So this maintenance man said, you need to go interview.
That is a lip I do not trust.
This maintenance man said you need to go interview Chester Otto Weger. The cops at the time, though, now this was half a year before the brutal slaying. The cops at the time, they took these teenagers, they make the boyfriend take a lie detector test, then they brushed it off as a made-up story. Karen goes back home and was teased throughout her high school career of lying about getting raped. She would be interviewed after the triple slayings, after the district attorney said, I'm going to solve this effing case. I'm going to do it myself. They interviewed her. They lined up several men in a lineup, with Otto Weger being one of them. When she saw this guy, Chester Otto Weger, she screamed. So that's if that tells you anything.
Yeah, I mean,
in 2020, he gets paroled. Okay, he spent 60 years in prison. This guy right here. Exclusive 83-year-old paroled for Starved Rock murders claims new DNA results prove his innocence. So this is Chester Weger. He spent 60 years in prison, and his attorney now is saying that there's new DNA evidence that's going to prove that he wasn't the killer.
But he was a rapist of the other crimes.
That is correct.
So he's just saying he didn't murder these.
He was paroled in 2020, 2 years ago. And the internet, for some reason, because it's full of idiots, they read headlines and they're really good at reading headlines.
Yeah, but that's about it.
But they don't do any research. So they think this guy's fucking innocent. But
he is not.
He is 100% not innocent.
Lauren had a great reminder, but he confessed.
He confessed 7 times.
The same story.
And the confessions, because the DA knew that this was going to happen, there were pictures taken before and after to show that he wasn't beaten. Everything was recorded. Everything that he said was recorded. And as always, he recants his confession. He has several confessions. Thursday, November 17th. These are all written confessions right here. And we're going to read some. He maps out the crime and he tells exactly how he did it. And for some reason, people think that he is innocent. And there's new DNA. The new DNA, which the attorney that is going to clear his name, which he's out of fucking prison anyway. Who gives a shit?
Right.
He's already been paroled. It didn't matter. He cleared his name or not. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, this new evidence was a single piece of hair that was found in the woman's glove that was not his. It was unidentified.
Huh.
Okay, but there were other things too that proved that it was him, which is far more damning. But this attorney says, if you want to get the scoop and hear exactly what all this stuff, you have to subscribe to my new podcast.
No, you can subscribe to ours and
we'll tell you for free.
It's a fucking shit.
Correct.
And then now everyone's like, oh my God, this man spent 60 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit.
Oh, he committed some serious crimes.
There was a piece of hair found in the woman's glove. That could have been there way before the fucking...
petting their fucking dog.
What about all the other fucking evidence that they have? Anyway, we're going to get into all that. The guy is fucking rapist.
They released him based on that one unidentified hair?
No, he was already parole, on parole.
He was already paroled. He went
but
for
it was
parole.
a matter of clearing his name of the crime entirely.
Yeah, which they're trying to clear his name now, which based off one hair that you can find out the details by going to the attorney's podcast, and that he touts it and everything. Oh, my new podcast. Yeah, we interviewed Chester, my new podcast.
I wondered. Never mind.
We have a podcast.
Say, is he making more on his podcast than we are? Is this all he's doing?
But the guy got paroled in 2020. I mean, this is 80 now, like whatever. I mean, but
I mean, like, even for a second, I wasn't thinking about the fact that he was a rapist and those other things. Like, he didn't clear his name, and I was like, well, oh, that poor man, like, had that all that time, and now he's an old man. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, like, he served time, but that doesn't mean that he's innocent, and that doesn't mean that he deserves to be out.
no, he doesn't deserve to be out.
No, not for murder.
But all the headlines,
others.
all
Correct.
the headlines say the same thing. Starved rock killer released after nearly 60 years in prison. Nearly 60 years in prison. Dude, what the fuck? Like, even this is like, oh my God, he's served so much time.
But
Like,
I mean,
are you fucking kidding me?
Can you go back to that screen where it says that headline there? But I don't know. I haven't seen that newscast, but that it's painted in a positive light for the killer, but it doesn't necessarily.
Yes,
but it's not,
there you
but
go,
it's not
man.
really biased. It doesn't really say like after wrongfully accused after 60 years in prison. Although that's the insinuation when they say after nearly 60 years in prison, but that doesn't
it's
mean
like
that
too much.
But it doesn't mean that that is where the opinion of the newscaster is. So like it doesn't like it's a what's the word I'm looking for?
It's the same thing
It's
with
a
this.
neutral statement, but it has an insinuation of being pro him. I don't know.
No, so it's the same thing as with these Menendez brothers, same shit. Like all these kids are like, oh, free the Menendez brothers. What the fuck? Look, they're
Is that
served all
going?
this time.
Is that going on right now?
Yeah, dude. Fucking people are stupid as tits. I mean, this guy fucking not only killed 3 innocent women, he's committed several rapes, and he's denied every rape until they're like, okay, we got this evidence, and then he tells exactly how he raped them. Okay, why is this guy even out of fucking prison? Why the fuck is this out? I mean, yeah, he said he was innocent after he recanted it. Everyone does that, and I think he actually believes he's innocent. You spend 60 years telling everyone you're innocent. That's more time than you've been alive. You're gonna get to think that yourself.
So it sounds like he served his time in terms of his sentence.
No, he did not serve his time. He was put in prison for life. He just got paroled.
How? Good behavior?
Yeah, good behavior, I guess. I mean,
I killed 3 people, but I'll never do it
it's the
again. I
same
promise.
reason
Is that what this
It's
is?
the same reason they're releasing murderers for COVID. They don't want to give them COVID, so they release these mass murderers.
So the
like, this
people.
shit is not the first one that got released.
No, but the people that killed other people don't deserve to get COVID. But what about the people that they killed?
But he didn't. Okay, he's always said he didn't do it, even though he confessed to it, and all the evidence points to him. And people are so fucking stupid that they just think that
Because he's an old man, he's innocent?
basically.
He may have gotten probation whether he was exonerated or not, and I think that's correct. So he was, because he had served so much time, like maybe it wasn't life without parole. It was like life with parole.
But I
And
don't
so-
understand if you're convicted of killing 3 people, how you can get parole.
I mean, that does happen quite a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, it
just-
happens all the time. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying I don't understand
Well, what do you not understand?
why you should have some sort of...
Because he got convicted to life, but not life without parole.
I understand
So he went
that-
to the parole office 17 times.
I understand that, but like when you're sentencing someone and they're convicted of murder, like it's not like that person can get up from the dead and just walk among the living. Like, why do you get to leave prison because you behaved well since you took the life of another person?
I don't know,
disagree
Jen.
with you.
I didn't write the rules. Chester Otto Weger, he was the one that the DA found to be the killer. He did undergo quite a bit of lie detector tests, and he did pass them. However, those tests were found to be flawed in several different ways. And when he retook the test with the DA, they actually got a prestigious law detecting office that has been well known for doing excellent work. They actually brought Chester to get another lie detector, and he didn't fail it, but he was found purposely trying to fool the lie detector by flexing his bicep, is what they were saying, and he was trying to fool the test. So it was found inconclusive. When asked why he did that, he really didn't have any great excuse. Now, this guy, Chester, has 2 children at the time he was arrested, a girl of 3 years old and a boy of 1 year old. And he has a wife too. He has a pretty extensive history of rape and purse snatching already before the murders even happened.
Didn't you say that there were the rapes that happened, but also purse snatching that happened around the time of the murders?
Yeah.
So, it fits his MO, but the murders are different than raping and purse snatching.
Yeah, so the thing with the purse snatching is there was no sperm found in the victims, the 3 women. However, they were staged to look like they were raped. And he actually drugged them into the cave and staged them that way. He ripped their panties up and made it look like they were raped. However, there was no sperm. So we do know that the reason there was no sperm in there is because he didn't start out with that motive. He basically wanted to steal what they had, and then things got out of control. Either way, he did kill these 3 women. I don't think he knew at that time he was going to kill them. He thought he was just going to snatch some stuff, that camera she was holding, those nice binoculars, whatever, and then run away. However, things didn't go that way. At the end of the day, he did kill 3 women, okay? And he's out now. So here's what happened. The women, they were gone. Remember, they were just hiking right before dinner. They turn around and they see this man, and he approaches them. This is Chester, and he immediately grabs for the purses that the women are carrying. However, he didn't expect a fight to occur, and that is exactly what happened.
Mrs. Murphy grabbed the binoculars hanging from her neck and quickly flipped them over her head. She banged the field glasses down hard on Weger's right eye. He stopped, stunned. In the same instant, she reached for the brown hair comb under her dark scarf. Raising the comb over her head, she arched it down on the assailant, its teeth digging into Weger's cheek.
Now, if this would have occurred, then right after that, he would have been scarred up, right?
Or bruised.
Or bruised up. But did that even happen? Well, I will tell you that Chester Weger actually worked in the hotel lodge. He worked in the kitchen. He wasn't the chef, but he was like the dishwasher in the kitchen of the hotel lodge, which they were staying in. And that day, after the murders occurred, this was 2 days before they actually found the body, obviously. The Tuesday morning, Chester comes in. He's got not only a black eye, but he's also got scrapes all down his face, which he has never had before. He was teased about it by everyone that he worked with. The chef actually asked, "What'd you get in some kind of fight? Or, what were you doing?" And Chester said he fell and hit the medicine cabinet and he cut himself shaving. Okay, it's crazy to have both of these marks, and which completely line up with his confession, which said that Miss Murphy grabbed the binoculars and hit him in the eye with it. That's why he's got the black eye. He has the marks of fighting with someone. Who else was he fighting with? You really think it's the medicine cabinet? Do people really buy that shit? You fall down and hit the medicine cabinet and you cut yourself shaving? Holy shit.
That sounds like a really rough morning.
Like, are you a fucking idiot? Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Searching for the words. Now, this is during what happened. So he meets them. He tries to snatch the camera and the other things, anything he can get. And this is reflected in the previous examples of him doing the same thing with other women, snatching their purses and stuff like that on the trail. So he tries to do that. And the book says, searching for words, Miss Lindquist sputtered, "What do you want with 3 bags like us? Where there are young girls." Miss Oetting said, "If you want money, we left everything in the room. I'm going to back out of here. if you walk down the trail back towards the waterfall, I'll leave you to go. So he was actually bargaining with the three ladies at the time, saying, okay, let's just stop what we're doing and I'm going to back out and then you guys can go your own way. Now, we do believe this happened. Okay, and he confessed to this. Okay. Miss Lindquist says, if we go down there, will you give us your word that you will release us? He says, yes, but I had to tie you up and then I'll leave. So now we know how they got tied up. He promised them that he would not hurt them. However, and I do think he was sincere about that. But at one point, Miss Murphy whirled around, swinging wildly with her binoculars in her hands and trying to hit Chester. So this was after the whole, okay, yeah, I'll tie you up and then someone would find you and I'm going to leave. Miss Murphy got the gumption to try to attack this Chester and try to get the upper hand. And that, I think that's really what done it. So he's got the other two girls tied up. That's when he starts beating them with that log. So Chester Weger worked in the kitchen of that lodge at that time. And when the district attorney took over the case, there's a couple things that point him to being the killer. Number one, he was implemented in the rapes and the purse snatchings and identified as the person on that same freaking trail doing that stuff. Okay. Number two, he had those marks after the murder. Yeah, he passed his polygraph test, but obviously he was skilled in knowing how to do that. Number three, he had him tied up in a way that you wouldn't be able to tie someone up like that with that knowledge of those knots and stuff like that unless you were trained. He was a Marine, remember? As we said that.
There was 3 bodies, 3 women laying there in the cave, and the floor of the cave is loose sand, but the snow had drifted up into the cave just a little there, but didn't drift clear up into it, all the way up into the cave. 3 women were laying there. 1 woman, which would be to my left, was laying there with the head facing down towards the entrance of the cave. Her legs were spread apart and her skirt was pulled up. And there was 1 boot that was off. That lady, I would say maybe about 3 or 4 feet out towards the entrance of the cave. There was all blood there by her head, where her head had been crushed. Then there was a pair of broken binoculars under by her right arm there. Then next to her was another body of a lady, and her head was also crushed. She had her skirt off and she was facing, her legs would be facing out. Now, the other lady's head was facing out and her legs were facing out, and they were spread apart there. Her panties were taken off her, and they were stuck up under her underskirt there.
So he does end up confessing to all this, and it happened exactly like I told you. So he meets these women. He gets into a struggle. They say, okay, let's just go our separate ways, but I got to tie you up first. And then that's how I'll know. That's when he was met with resistance, and that's when the fighting started. And then he just ended up killing all of them. The camera found, quote, revealed particles of skin and clotted blood wedged inside the lens. Chester confessed that at least 3 blows, perhaps 4, he used the camera. So his confession was complete, and not only that, the district attorney took pictures before and after the confession to make sure he wasn't beaten into confession. However, he said that he feared for his life. They said that he was going to go to the electric chair unless he confessed, which is bullshit because the entire confession was recorded. And nowhere in that did they say that he was, going to the death chair.
Well, wouldn't it make sense for it not to be in there if it was being recorded? Because, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but if they said that he was going to go to the electric chair unless he confessed, and then he confessed, but that's kind of like a point for him, isn't it? Because wouldn't it show coerced confession?
What?
I'm saying as a neutral party in this, as third party, if they're saying that he was going to go to the electric chair unless he confessed.
No, they didn't say that.
I thought you said that. They said that.
That's what he said. So he said the whole time he was in prison that they told him that he has to confess or he's going to get the electric chair. That's why he, the whole time, maintained his innocence, saying that he didn't do it and everything. Not only was his confession complete, but he actually confessed several times and to different parties. parties. Okay, not just the police that one time, but to a lot of different parties, including the media. He confessed at least 7 different times. He told his wife and his children that he did it. And I mean, his confession is right here.
Was it consistent?
Yes, not only is it consistent, but it explains things that they didn't know before, like the log being frozen, the reason why they look like rape victims, but they weren't raped. Well, because it was a robbery and he tried to make it look like rape. Stuff like that, it explained perfectly. Not only that, the fishing line that he used was actually butcher's rope that was only available in the kitchen and where Chester worked. Okay, so this is one of the things. And like, if you ever watched Forensic Files, they actually sent that twine. It was twine. They sent it to the manufacturer that makes that twine, and they figured out that it came from that same roll that was in the kitchen. There was only 2 people that had access to that. That was the chef and Chester. That was the only 2 people that had access to that rope. So I mean, that specific rope strain.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. I mean, there's it's obvious that he did it, you know? Plus he confessed to everything. I seen a club sticking out from a bunch of brush, and I picked up the club and I lost my head. I hit her with it. And then they ask him where he picks it up, yada, yada, yada. He tells exactly where it was found. Where did she fall? Right where I hit her. How far was that from the cave? Right there where I found the club. During the confession, he took a deep breath and inhaled a cigarette. I turned around and looked at the woman I hit, and she was laying there still. I thought I killed her. She had her eyes closed, and the next thing I knew, this other woman was hitting me and everything. She kept hitting me. I had this club in my hand, and I hit her. I mean, it's all here exactly how it happened. She then got back up. She was the one with, I think, the binoculars. I kept hitting her. I felt these other 2 women's pulse. Both of them were dead. I killed them. I had to kill this other woman. So she actually chased the 3rd one when she took off running. I mean, stuff like this, dude, it's not a coerced confession. The police didn't even know what happened. They thought they were raped. He's the one that provided that they weren't raped. I just made it look like a rape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? And he says, where did you kill Mrs. Murphy? I'm pretty sure because I remember I killed these 2 and I am positive of that. I think I killed this other woman there, but I started to come back, and when I was coming back, these here Piper Cubs from Starved Rock were flying over the police plane, the red and white one. That is very important because it wasn't the Piper Club, but it was a red and white plane, and the district attorney sent his detective, and they proved that there was a red and white plane that flew over. And you would only know that if you saw it. He was the only one out there. How else would he know that a plane flew over there if he was in the kitchen working? He described the fucking plane that flew over. And then the detective went and made sure with the flight logs that the plane was actually flying over at that same time.
And it was.
Yeah.
And it was the exact same one he described. They didn't know anything about the plane until he said something. He said this. There was a plane flying over. I think it was the Piper Cubs from Starved Rock. I mean, it was a regular, whatever. It wasn't the Piper Cubs, I remember, but it was a red and white plane that flew over because the detectives went and checked the logs. And sure enough, a red and white plane, exactly how he described it, flew over at exactly when he said it flew over. How the fuck would he know that if he's in the damn kitchen?
Right.
He wasn't. He was out fucking killing these women.
Yeah.
They only went to check the flight logs because he mentioned the fucking plane. Isn't that nuts? And people think he's fucking innocent. How would you fucking make that up?
You can't make that up.
I think it was Natasha said because people see a frail old man and they're like, oh, he's not dangerous anymore.
Yeah, but back when
Jeez.
he was 20 years old, I mean, look at him.
And then he talks about how he makes it look like a rape. They say, how did you clean off your hands? Because he goes back to the kitchen and works. Well, I washed them off in the snow. How much blood did you get on you? I will tell you another part of the evidence. There was a jacket that he always wears. There was, and keep in mind, this is the 60s. They couldn't do DNA tests like we do now. But they found on his jacket human blood. Like, what the fuck? So tell me now, instead of looking at this one hair in this glove to exonerate him, why don't they fucking test the goddamn jacket,
Because that would make too much sense.
I'm sure that attorney's not even going to mention that in his fucking podcast. So where did you hit him? The head, most mostly? Mostly in the head? Yes. Why did you hit him mostly in the head? Yes, all the time I was sure I killed the oldest woman. I felt that the time these two women would identify me. I was almost positive I killed her. In my mind, I figured I killed her. I had to kill these other two. I killed them. I don't know. This guy is
no bueno.
and he's all like, "Oh, I'm old. Look at me. I served all this time and for a crime I didn't commit." That guy doesn't want to be exonerated. Dude, he just fucking wants to live the rest of his 20 lives,
20 lives. This seems
Like a cat.
a
but
cat
worse.
times 3.
Or, wait, yeah, 2.
To kind of go over all the evidence, he's the only one that had access to the twine used to, the exact twine that was taken off the victims was tested. That test from the manufacturer was proven to be from the same roll as in the kitchen. So the killer had to be in the kitchen or have access to it. We know that. We do know that Chester had a black eye the day after the murders and scratches all over his face. We do know that. We do know that Chester has multiple convictions of rape and purse snatching. We know that, there's human blood on his leather jacket. We know that. He confessed and told information that no one else would have. We know that. About the plane. We know that. And the guy's fucking out. That's how our world works, I guess.
Man.
So, I don't know.
shitty.
He did do a stint in the Marines, but he went AWOL twice and was discharged under mental strain. And, I don't know. That's about all I got with that guy. I will say, remember I mentioned the jacket? There was human blood on the jacket. The FBI, when they finally got wise and sent this to the FBI to check, not only was it human blood found on his coat, in addition, the report stated that the stains came from flying blood, as if it had been splattered on the jacket. It was definitely not blood from some dead animal killed on a hunting trip or even a normal nosebleed. This was flying blood. I don't know, maybe hitting someone with a log?
Maybe.
Or
a hatchet.
You serious? So the DA actually was the hero in this case because the case wouldn't be solved if he didn't put himself on the line. And he lost an election to prove this guy guilty. The guy he's out now, I guess, whatever. But what do you guys think?
Very, very interesting.
So the club, when I was talking about the Frozen Club, it says Dr. Kakachka informed the investigators that the club seemed pretty much dried out and would possibly crumble into pieces if it were swung very hard against a hard object. He noted, however, if the club had been soaked in water and then frozen, its strength would be greatly increased. The doctor added that he would hate to be hit with it in that condition. Jesus Christ. I don't know. He's out now. There was other things that they found too, linking him. And just not only that, but the fact that others came forward. I didn't read a lot of the stories, but we read that one rape. All that stuff pointed to him. So I don't know. And the guy's fucking out since 2 years ago. And now this attorney's like, go listen to my podcast. We can exonerate this guy. This guy's got a GoFundMe page, the fucking killer, because he's 80 years old and he can't provide for himself. It's like, dude, and he's got quite a bit of an audience, man, crazy.
Interesting.
No.
What do you mean, no?
Just no.
Don't listen to that podcast. Listen to ours instead.
Well, or listen to Among the Dirt and Trees, which I think is, I think that's better. So. There were experts that came down. There was multiple authorities that came down to document each confession. Because before this guy even was arrested, the DA knew that this was going to happen because he's seen it before. So there was rules that he had before you arrest this guy. And one of those rules was to make sure everything is completely documented. Now, they didn't have the recorder back then, but they had someone documenting it. And within 7 confessions, it's all him. There are multiple parties writing down every question and answer, as you see here, through the thing. It wasn't drawn up. A detective can't draw up questions and answers. Okay? These are questions and answers. How would a detective draw that up? Oh, what kind of razor was that? And then the detective writes, I don't know, just an old razor. You can't draw that up. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Right after it happened, he quits the kitchen job. You know? I mean, I don't know. And he did fail that polygraph test. The one that they took the last time. He was trying to fake the polygraphs. He was trying to flex his bicep to throw it off. Through the long hours of questioning, the detective noticed that Weger preserved a perfect composure. He also noticed that the suspect was trying to confuse the polygraph readings by flexing his biceps, from which his blood pressure was being recorded. On one of the many breaks from the long sessions, Reed told the waiting LaSalle County officials of the attempted cheating. This guy comes out of the guy administering the lie detector test, which was the top company to do this. Anyway, the guy comes out of the polygraph test and says that this guy did it. He didn't say he was lying or anything. He said that this is your guy. This is it. Thanking Weger for his time, Kindig, which is the administrator of the polygraph, watched him leave the cabin before turning to face the detective. With a shaking voice, the expert simply said, "That's him." Racing to the window, the state attorney stared at the thin man walking away down the tree-lined lane. Warren the hunter now knew his prey. I mean, dude, this guy fucking did it, man. Like, all the evidence points to him. But anyway, that's all I got for that. And it's about to storm here anyway.
I hear the thunder.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love you guys. And Nicole and I will be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that's it, man. So I hope this is good enough for you guys. I really do. I hope you guys enjoy this. And until next time, good night, you lovely, lovely people.